No one avoids death and taxes, but you can make sure an element that's crucial to a comfortable retirement lasts the rest of your life. For what that is and how to preserve it, certified financial planner Art Stein of Arthur Stein Financial. All right, give us the big story. What needs to last the rest of your
Well,
life?
Tom, federal retirees are, and let's talk about FERS retirees. They have two sources of income during retirement. And one, of course, is guaranteed income. And guaranteed income is Social Security and their FERS annuity. And those are great. They're guaranteed to last the rest of their life, and they both have cost of living adjustments. But most FERS retirees at some time during their retirement are going to have to start taking money from their investments to supplement their guaranteed income. And that's something that may happen to them, as soon as they retire. It may be 5 or 10 years into retirement. Of course, one problem for FERS retirees is that anytime inflation is more than 2%, the purchasing power of their annuity declines. And for most FERS retirees, they're going to have to make that up by taking money from their investments.
But the investment, presumably it's a TSP. I mean, you've got to make the minimum withdrawal at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. But you don't have to spend it. You can reinvest it, after you pay the taxes.
Got it.
So it means that they never have to worry about running out of money because they'll always have the guaranteed income. What they need to worry about is running out of investments. And that's when being too conservative over a long period of time can really hasten the day that people run out of investments, because the G fund, which is, the most popular fund, and even the F fund, pretty much guaranteed to lose purchasing power once you take into account taxes and inflation. And that's also true of bank accounts. And lots of federal employees and retirees have very significant amounts in bank accounts. And those lose purchasing power over time too. So let me just give you a really simple example. And the simplest
Sure.
example is just going to be about bank accounts. Let's say that you're going to give a party in 12 months. A couple is going to give a party in 12 months. And they estimate the cost of the party to be $1,000. So they want to be very prudent. So they take $1,000 and invest it in a bank account, money market fund. It's considered 100% safe, guaranteed by the federal government, and it does not fluctuate in value. So if they leave it in there for 12 months and they earn 2% simple interest, at the end of 12 months, they'll have $1,020. Now they have to pay tax on the interest. They paid $6 in tax, they'd have $1,014 left. So it sounds pretty good. They had $1,000 party. Now they have $1,014, but we forgot to take into account inflation. If inflation's only 3%, the $1,000 party is now costing $1,030. They only have $1,014 after taxes, so they're $16 short. They lost purchasing power after taxes and inflation. Now, clearly in this example, not a big deal. It's only $16. It only compounds over, 1 year. But many retirees have heard and read that when they're retired and even as they approach retirement, they should have the majority of their money in bonds and bank accounts, which for the TSP means the G fund and the F fund. And for most TSP participants, it mainly means the G fund because they don't like the F fund so much.
Yeah, that's
It's
the
not
preaching of safety, in other words, above all else.
preaching safety above all else. And that's because those types of investments, when we say they're safer, that's very misleading, Tom. What they are is less volatile. And volatility is not the only investment risk. And really, for long term investors, the most important retirement risk is taxes and inflation, reducing the purchasing power of their investments. It's very difficult because people put their money in the G fund and they see it gradually increase in value. And they don't think about, well, is it keeping up with taxes and inflation? And many people, really when they judge the
Sure.
amount of money they have, if they look at the amount in the TSP and say, I have $1 million and the TSP have got $1 million to spend, Well, of course, that's not true. It's $1 million minus taxes, so
Right.
it's a much lower amount.
We're speaking with certified planner Art Stein of Arthur Stein Financial. I guess I'm still trying to get my mind around the idea of a $1,000 party. I guess in today's inflation, that means a case of Budweiser and four of your best friends at this point.
What other kind of party is there?
That's right. But if you take that million versus 1,000, and you take your calculations out for 20, 25, 30 years, it's tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars you might be foregoing in intrinsic value of your investments that will never be there.
Absolutely. I can tell you that, with the cost of living adjustment for FERS retirees, if inflation were 3% a year, they're only going to get a 2% per year inflation adjustment. After 10 years, that would reduce the purchasing power of their annuity 8%. After 20 years, it would reduce it 17%. They're going to have to make up that difference.
So you really have to look at your future life and retirement, not so much from how many dollars are sitting in the different accounts, but what those accounts are doing, and also what you actually need to maintain your lifestyle.
Yes, and that's what, retirement planning is all about, is looking, well, how much do I have? What kind of rate of return can I expect based upon, what funds I'm invested in? And how much do I expect to spend in retirement? And this is where, again, I think a lot of people make a mistake. How long a retirement do I need to plan for? Now, none of us know how long we're going to live, but if we're healthy now and say we retire at 65, people need to assume that they're going to have a 30-year retirement at least, because many of us are going to live that long. And, 10 years from now, medical care is going to be much better than it is now. And same thing true 20 and 30 years from now. Medical system is great at keeping us alive. And it means that we could live a very long time and be very healthy. And a lot of people don't think of it that way. I mean, I just spoke to a couple yesterday, and the wife is 82. And I was explaining this, and she said, well, I'm 82. How long a retirement do I need to plan for? And I said, well, how's your health? She said, well, I got some vision problems. Other than that, I'm 100% healthy. How long did your parents live? Well, my mom lived to 92. Well, her mother died 20 years ago. If her mother could live to 92 with the medical care they had 20 years ago, why couldn't she live another 10 or 15 years?
And just a practical question. Some people feel they need, and they do need, people need liquid assets. You might want to pay cash for a car or a vacation or something, and that would not be in your TSP because you don't want to try to withdraw the principal if you can avoid that. What is a good way to keep cash, or let's say not so much cash, but a liquid asset that you can turn to cash quickly because you have a legitimate call for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody should have an emergency fund, which is not a great name for that because it sounds like something bad happened. A new car, I need to pay for a wedding for my son or daughter, or I want to give money to my grandkids. And, banks are great for that. But you also want to make sure you don't have too much in low yielding bank accounts. I mean, if you look around in today's world, you can find online bank accounts that are paying 5.25%. But many people are letting money just sit in their local bank account and getting 0.25%, 0.5%, 1%. That's a big loss.
Then, with respect to your TSP distributions, you can always change the distribution if you want to. You may not get that 25 years worth of better growth, but you can get better growth while you're at it.
Yeah. And money, you expect to take out and spend in the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, the G fund is a good place for that. And the F fund in most normal years is also a good place for that. The stock funds, CS and I, the money that's in there is money that you would need 10, 20, 30 years from now, because stocks are much more volatile than bonds. But over long periods of time, historically, stocks have outperformed bonds by enough to make it worthwhile to put up with the bad years.
Good advice for making sure you can have that $1,030 party. Certified planner Art Stein of Arthur Stein Financial. As always,